good afternoon, all of you, and welcome to this ETCISO webinar on strengthening email security with Google Workspace, brought to you in partnership with Barracuda. Now, despite significant advances in cybersecurity, email remains the most exploited attack vector for cyber criminals. Now, whether it is phishing, business email compromise, account takeover, or increasingly sophisticated impersonation attacks powered by AI, organizations continue to face growing risks through email environments. Now, organizations rely on Google Workspace's native security capabilities, which provide a strong foundation for protecting users and data. Now, however, as threat actors become more sophisticated, security leaders are increasingly evaluating how additional layers of protection can help improve visibility, detection, and response without creating friction for end users. In today's webinar, we will explore the evolving email threat landscape, the limitations of relying on a layer of defense, and the role of layered security in strengthening protection for Google Workspace environments. We will also examine practical approaches to identifying emerging threats, reducing risk, and improving overall cyber resilience. So join this discussion to Barracuda, who will share their perspectives, real-world experience to take us through this email security landscape. Please join me in welcoming Pranay Manik, Manager Systems Engineering, India and SAP, Barracuda Networks, and Vineet Janardhanan, Senior Solution Architect at Barracuda Networks. Welcome, Pranay and Vineet. So while Pranay will be presenting, Vineet answering your questions in the backend live. So that you have for Pranay and Vineet, you can post them in the Q&A tab, which you will find at the bottom of the app. Do put in your questions as the presentation goes on, and we will take up those questions either live by Vineet, who will be answering them over text in the Q&A tab, or towards the end of the webinar. So with that, thank you so much for joining, and over to you, Pranay.
Shipra, hi everybody, very good afternoon. I hope my screen is visible and I'm loud and audible. One of the panelists, if you can
Yes,
just give me
Pranay,
information.
you are audible and the screen is also visible.
Thank you, Shipra. So I think in this era, right, where communication has become one of the key components, and especially post COVID or the move of having the more internet savvy communication. So email, while we started with phone calls to text messages, now to WhatsApp and whatnot. So when this was the move, but what has remained constant is an email, and that's where strengthening your email or the email workspace or email ecosystem has become a critical aspect today. And it's not just that, because what happens is with email, there is organization has entire access to different types of drives or calendars. Oops, sorry. The documents, the sheets, and the slides and whatnot you use today, which means with one email account link today, there's so much of data which is being growing in. Well, definitely, yes, Barracuda has a solution for Microsoft. But today, what we're going to discuss is more on how do we help you to secure the Google Workspace as well. So just before we begin, if we can just quickly have the first poll, which is there. So what do you rely on most to catch routine-looking attacks? Google's native control, user reporting suspicious emails, or manual investigations, and then add up, or you have an added security layer?
So this is a multiple choice question. So you can choose more than one option. We'll give it a couple of seconds, maybe a minute. So in case you haven't taken the poll, do it now. I'll just repeat the question. What do you rely on most to catch routine-looking attacks? The options are Google's native controls, users reporting suspicious emails, manual investigation or log searches by your security, and added security layer focused on detection and response. In case we have enough responses, yes, we have.
Yeah.
So Pranay, I'm still focus on users reporting suspicious emails, followed by added security focused on detection and response and Google's native controls. So, what do you think? I mean, any comment on what you see in terms of these
Like,
results? Is it
this is
similar
this
among other
is
customers?
this is a typical response that we are seeing, where the end user responding, that there's a email or there's a suspicious email which has come in, and this has been a common practice across the organizations where, to begin with, because when the end users start facing a problem, that is when organizations start evaluating email solutions or securing emails, because what happens is, a personal Gmail might not impact much, but an official Google account or a Microsoft account impacts more, because that's the time when you have productivity, and anything goes there is a productivity impact. So why we also saw such kind of responses, because it's no more that there is just an attachment which is coming with a malware. These are low volume attacks, socially engineered targeted attacks, which means you could see just one of out of 10, one user would get an such an suspicious email, which looks everything good, genuine, everything looking fine. But when somebody clicks on it, it then starts the actual action. It can be a drive-by download, or it can be a malicious intent or something like that. So that's the kind of attacks which are happening today, which means these emails look like routine, like your day-to-day task which is happening. And why native solutions struggle to keep up, because they always look on what is a known threat. If I know that somebody is a threat, that is when I will react. They will not react for unknowns, they'll not react for something which is not known. And most importantly, they are purely reliant on authentication, which means, if I am I the right user who's accessing the email inbox or not? If I'm not, then there is a bigger challenge which happens, because if somebody is compromised an account, it typically leads to a larger extent of attack. And then everybody is blind to the intent. I mean, every solution depends on how it works, but most of the native solutions don't try to understand the intent or the behavior of the sender of the email, because that can give you kind of a more analytics or context of why that email was known to be malicious. And I mean, you saw the pains which are there. First thing, we could also see that, that user reporting, there is a big resilience or reliance on user to report and say, hey, I saw one phishing email being delivered today, or I saw this email which looks so suspicious to me, can you just look into it? So once this happens, what happens is the IT admin or the security admin who's tasked to do it, his job would be, to perform reactionary log searches, go back, look into the logs, search, is it one user who's got impacted by this, or did 50 users in the organization get this email? Now, if that has happened, then go into step 3, which is oops, which is manual remediation. And then typically, which means there's a variation in the coverage which is happening. So sometimes the attacks are stopped, sometimes the attacks are not stopped, or if they're missed, then there's a whole lot of security dependency to find out and remediate them as well. And if you look at the modern attacks, I mean, they are more of designed for users to get evaded. I mean, there's no attachment which is going to come. Now that's become the rarest things which is happening. Malwares are the rarest things what we see. But definitely, yes, then there are blind spot, if you don't know if whose account has been compromised, or what is happening on the account, whose account is not working as expected. And so impersonation has become one of the most evasive techniques that we are most commonly seeing today in the entire world. Now, though, we put DKIM, SPF, DMARC checks, but this is something which is being most commonly picked up today across the globe. And then definitely, yes, then you have a lot of other challenges like the post-delivery responses, the blind spots, and which definitely come up. So quickly, can we have the second poll question?
So the question is, which statement speaks to you the most? But this is the question. Uh, the options are: you rely primarily on native Google today, wanted to gain more knowledge. You have seen phishing or impersonation attempts get through. Third is you don't want added complexity or mail flow disruption. Fourth is you need faster visibility and response, something through, or it's all of the above. So give it about half a minute to 40 seconds for everyone. This is a single choice poll question. It's only one response, whichever you think is the statement which speaks to you the most. There are five options. I think we can have the responses now. Can we have the results on the screen, please? Pranay, you don't want complexity or flow disruption, obviously. I think though it's not a surprise, it's 0%. Seems to be the most, the statement that speaks the most to everyone. So yeah, over to you.
Yeah, I think absolutely. So if you typically look at it, what we want is, a simplest way of solving all the problems and also get visibility and most importantly, security. And if something goes wrong, a remediation plan in place. So that's what everybody's looking at. And that's where I think we come to, after understanding the challenges, what we face, what Barracuda has to offer now, correct? So if you look at it, what Barracuda offers is we offer something called as in 6-in-1 multi-layered email protection. Now, why do we call it 6-in-1? Because uh, typically the cybersecurity approach that we take across the globe is a multi-layered approach, correct? Or we talk about defense in depth as a strategy. So that's where Barracuda comes to, provides you a defense in depth approach with multi-layered email protection. Now, first level, of course, we have something called as a gateway, which is going to come and help you to provide defense and going to help you to stop such threats. Then we have an AI-based inbox protection for advanced threats. When we talk about something like an account takeover compromise, a spear phishing, or targeted phishing, impersonations, because these kind of attacks need more contextual information than just a spam scoring mechanism or just understanding of what the email consists of. So that's where the inbox protection becomes a critical aspect, so that we can take more context of different threats that are there and then build a right action and stop such threats from coming in. And definitely no security solution. I mean, all of us know that nothing is 100% in this world. Every solution one fine day either has some issues or it fails for one or the various reasons, and that's where we go and do some R&D and try to fix it and then do some remediation action. That's where incident response, which is much more automated with forensics, comes into play. So definitely yes, Barracuda has an offer for that. And because nobody should impersonate your domain, that's why we have the domain fraud protection, which helps you to identify if anybody is using or misusing your domain for sending malicious emails. And most important thing, what we are seeing today is account takeover remediation. So proactively, there is a need to stop account takeover remediation, which again we offer, and then continuous monitoring and alerting of the different threats that we see. And this is what most of the solutions fail to give you today. So let's talk of the gateway defense. Why do we need a gateway defense? Now, why do we need the gateway defense is because one, there is a bulk of emails which comes in. So if you when we did a recent survey, we could see that out of 100 emails that get delivered, approximately around 40 to 50% of them are either bulk emails or just marketing spams, which definitely you don't want to enter into your inbox, because those definitely hamper your productivity. But beyond that is when we see hardly one or two emails which come with a malicious attachment, and that too in 1,000 kind of a scenario. And then we are seeing, but what majorly we are seeing is spams and malwares which needs to be stopped at the gateway itself. So if you look at the layer one, what Barracuda offers, we have a spam gateway, which definitely stops most of the attacks here itself. Now, this is basically going to help you to stop the various attacks that we see. Now, the second layer of defense, what we offer is post-delivery defense, which is to curtail the targeted attacks. So how does this work? Is basically it's a simple API integration, no MX record changes or anything required after the gateway, where we first try to build an analytics of your infrastructure. So what when the solution gets deployed, it tries to understand the intent of the sender and the user behavior. Now, once this behavior is understood, we understand what exactly are the challenges that be there, and then based on that, we build something called as an AI model, which is a communication graph. Now, this communication graph typically captures data. Who's the user, where is he logging in from, what are the sentiments of the email that has been sent, from where has it been sent, is it a genuine source, what is the communication style which is being used. So this communication graph is built for every user in the organization, and once this is built, it automatically helps us to kind of take decision based on different content, what we see in the email messages, or the anomalies that we see, or if there's any patterns which look to us are malicious, and all of those things definitely help. And then immediately automatically these mails are prevented from being delivered. So immediately the emails are stopped, they don't go to users inbox, they can either be moved to a junk folder or a spam folder depending on the policy that you set. Or if you just say no, I just want to detect these threats, we definitely can help you to detect as well. Now with this, what happens is because this is AI, you would be having questions like, what happens if if it's a false positive, how can I control that? So typically what happens is, this is where when you report an email as false positive, there's a continuous feedback loop which is going into the system, which trains the AI as well. Now we saw, all the preventive mechanisms or the preventive response we saw, that we can take. But this is where the challenge changes now, because no solution is 100%. We all know that, and that's where we need incident response. Now, typically, what we've seen on an average for an email-based attack for a 500 to 1,000 user organization, when we did some surveys with our existing customers, we found out that it was taking 3.5 days without any automated tool being used for incident response, which means roughly 3.5 days for one email which got delivered. So if you see, say for example, out of a million email, if 10 have been delivered, you have to take roughly 15 to 20 days just to remediate such kind of an incident. So how Barracuda works is, we give you an MSOR or a mail SOR, what we call it. So it has four key components which is built in into it. One is a threat intelligence component, which keeps popping up and telling these could be potential threats in your user's inbox. Maybe you want to validate this, maybe you want to understand more. So it gives you a complete analysis of that. Second thing, because there is an intel which is coming in, you automatically can build an automation also on that intelligence, which means if I see a potential threat being highlighted by the threat intelligence, what is the action you want to take? This is an automated way of addressing those threats. The second thing, typically what happens is, because varied organizations keep getting threat intel from varied sources, like certain is one. Then if you're in the banking sector, you get lists from RBI or SEBI and all those things. So these need some manual tasks also to be done, correct? Or you would want to run those things manually. So you can search who are the, once you get those threat intel, you can just take either the email ID, domain name, or IP address, or whatever is sent as in threat intel, to find out if any of the users in the organization has got an email with that specific option or that specific sender, and then you can perform a remediation action as well. And then automatically, yes, we can help you with the orchestration as well. Now, if you look at threat intelligence, Barracuda has multiple layer of threat intel platform. One is the Barracuda's own threat platform, what we call it as Barracuda IQ. This platform typically has a combination of a human SOC, which keeps feeding, the entire threat intel across the Barracuda solutions what we offer. Plus, it has AI content which is running and telling what possibility could be the threats. So this gives us a faster reaction time or a response time to any threat intel that is being shared, which then is we also take sources from a lot of community intel or open source and some paid sources as well. And then we also take insights like what are the geological insights, where the emails are originating, what exactly is happening. And this also helps you to get some user reported intel and admin reported intel as well. Now, once this happens, you definitely can write your own workflow saying that, user reported email, the number of mailboxes, if they are greater than five, create an incident and remediate. If it is less than or equal to five, just send me an email notification. So all of such kind of an workflow can be written to you. And all of this, how much time does it take for us to write these workflows? It hardly takes, maybe 5 minutes, because it's just like how you see this box. It's a drag and drop box in the UI as well. And when it comes to a response, it's all of this in single console where you can see, how many incidents were created, how many incidents got remediated, how many were, who was the top attacked user in the organization. And, you want to set up a continuous monitoring, or you want to put a policy back into the gateway saying that, if you're seeing emails from such a domain, block it. So all of these things can be created in one single click. So if you look at it with Barracuda, the incident response, there's a complete integration what we have with the gateway, with the layer one gateway what we spoke, with the inbox defense what we spoke. Also, if you are looking for security awareness training, we do have it, and we do have integration with that as well. So then we have the layer 4, which we call it as a DMARC reporting. Now, just to simplify why a DMARC enforcement has become something critical is we don't know who's going to verify your domain, who's going to do exactly what in your organization, or who's sending emails using your domain, correct? So with DMARC reporting, the first challenge what we help you to solve is we help you to identify which are the mail sources which are using your domain to send an email. For example, somebody is using SendGrid in your organization. Now, typically marketing emails are never sent from O365 because that becomes an expensive affair. They have their own throttling and limits which come in. So typically you would use something like a SendGrid or SendMail or something like that, which is much more simpler and much more cost effective. So you would see some numbers that, and then you would see something like an Microsoft Outlook being used. But then you see, there is something called as an, a different domain or a different email server altogether being used. So such things is what we can help you to identify. Now, this typically helps you, one, to create your own DMARC record like you see here. We will also verify the SPF records that you've put and what is the DKM that you've done. So once this happens, you get a complete automated reporting and visualization of what exactly is happening. DKM, SPF configuration troubleshootings become easy. And if there's anything misconfigured, it becomes easy as well. Now, coming to the deployment of a solution so far, it's pretty simple. We can definitely help you with an inline deployment, or you're looking for an MX plus API approach. Yes, we have it. If you're just looking for the API integrations, definitely, yes, we can do that as well. So having said that, account takeover is one of the biggest challenges that we are seeing, because infiltration is what leads to the complex attacks that we're seeing today. And how it is happening, either it is because of phishing emails which get sent. The most common, one of the surveys what we did recently, also we could find out that post 2022, once ChatGPT was launched, there is uptick of roughly 100% emails which are spam, which is sent by AI tools. Now, why AI tools? Because one, they're good at English. Two, a better English, a cleaner English is more easy to bypass when compared to anything else. Then there is definitely reconnaissance. There could be suspicious logins, some impossible travels, rule changes, the number of messages that are being sent. So these kind of become a pattern for the user. And then once this happen, the attackers typically then move laterally to find out more targets and then monetize the organizations as well. Now, this is where the Barracuda's account takeover remediation comes into picture. Now, say for example, there could be two possibilities. Either there was a phishing email that was delivered to users' inbox, the user clicked it, or the user's session was captured, and typically that would then give an leeway into user being compromised. Now, once this happens, within 30 seconds, your user has an access to the entire inbox, and he can either send emails to unusual locations. He can start moving in laterally and also create impact outside. And within 1 minute, a lot of rules are created, forwarding emails are moving in. And typically, we all know SOC is always overwhelmed, or the security administrative team is always overwhelmed, because they see so many alerts coming in at every day. And typically, account takeover alerts are the highest. So when this comes in, it typically takes roughly 4 days to address such threats, and typically until then, everything is lost. But with Barracuda's account takeover remediation, what happens is within 30 seconds, sorry, my bad, we would be able to disable this account and stop the account. And within 3 minutes, that IP can be put into firewall and other places, so that you can stop the access. And within 4.5 days, you have an complete remediated email which tells what kind of attacks had gone through. Email is disabled, and Barracuda can then help you to identify these attacks. So from unauthorized login to disabling of the account in 30 seconds, this is what Barracuda can help you with. And lastly, we do also help you to do a continuous monitoring on your work suite, by continually looking at the policies which have been created, who's getting the global admin role assignment, what exactly is happening, is there any policy which is being changed, is there any file deletion which is happening, or if there's any user who has access to sensitive data. So quickly, can we have the third poll question?
Can we have the poll question up, please? Can we have the question on the screen? Cannot see it on the screen yet. Okay, this is again a single choice response question. Would you want to prevent threats with multi-layered mail protection like Barracuda help? Answer is yes, no, maybe, or happy with native security tools. I'll just repeat the question once again. Would you want to prevent threats with multi-layered email protection like Barracuda help? It's a single choice, yes, no, maybe, or happy with native security tools. We'll give it a few before we close the poll. So in case you haven't taken the poll yet, please do that now. And also, as we are running towards the end session, I mean, we still have a few slides, I believe, Pranay.
Just a couple of them.
So in case there are any questions that you have, you can post the Q&A tab. And in case you're having trouble or any technical glitches posting in the Q&A tab, you can also post it in the chat. Can we have the response, please? The results of the poll?
So definitely a lot of them have said yes, and some of them are definitely happy with
Yeah,
the native
maybe. And
controls.
so I think yes is of course the majority, and maybe also to a great extent. So you can continue.
Yeah, thank you for that quick response. Oops,
We
there's
can
one.
close the poll now. Yeah, we can
Yeah.
remove that.
So one last thing. Now, if I mean you're using Google Suite or Microsoft 365, we definitely have a quick free scan which is available. You can definitely use that scan. Now, it's a pretty simple, straightforward scan. Where you can just run the scan. identify what exactly is happening in your inbox, how many mails have been missed, and how we can help you to improve the solution. Definitely, yes, we can run you through that scan report as well. Just give me 1 second while I just reshare my screen. So we can run a quick scan. It tells you, it's like a scan which tells you what exactly is happening in your infrastructure. What are the types of threats that we found? How many email employees with such number of threats are there? The DMARC status of your all the domains which are there and the types of threats we find. So this report can give you, one, what are the gaps in your email security that you're running? Two, helps you to find what are the threats which are actually sitting in your users inbox, which can be a ticking time bomb. And most importantly, this helps you to visualize what attacks have been missed and what can be prevented better as well. And definitely, this is a report which you would be having access to. We do not have access to these reports, so you would be having these reports, and we do not do anything with these reports as well. And from there, if you think, that you want to kind of see if Barracuda is really solving the problem or not, we have an option where you can directly start the trial from there as well. So that's what I had, a quick presentation to tell you what the challenges are with email and how Barracuda can help you to address it. It's not necessary that we just do Microsoft, but even Google Workspace as well today. So thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Pranay. So I believe there was one question which Vineet is already answering. He has answered. Okay, so he has already answered. There are a few questions which also came across uh, differently. I will just read out those questions, and Pranay, you can answer them here on
Sure.
the webinar itself. Barracuda can offer over native security solutions to prevent email-borne threats. I believe some of these things you have already answered to some extent in your web, but maybe if you elaborate more on these.
Absolutely, yes. I'll just typically, use the help of the slides. So, that's typically going to kind of cover a lot of things. Yeah. So if you look at most of the native solutions today, right, they are just solving a simple problem of stopping the spams. Even if you look at, any email security service provider today, email service provider, they typically say, it's a shared responsibility model, what they refer to. While, data is something which is your responsibility. The application is their responsibility. So, be it O365, be it Google Workspace, yes, definitely they do offer some native spam detection capabilities, but majorly where that kind of stops functioning or working is at the gateway defense. They don't have anything which can learn more about the intent of the sender. It cannot understand how do you help in remediation. Now, typically, say for example, if 30 users come and report an email and all 30 are different, if typically a SOC admin has to do it, it roughly takes 10 to 15 days of effort to just stop those emails or remediate those emails. And when so much amount of time is being consumed, typically you would then need an army of just 5 to 6 people to remediate incidents of emails which come in. And most importantly, no native email security solution is, or no native email solution is telling you, that evaluate your DMARC records, use DMARC rejection policies, because what we've seen in most of the impersonated domains, for example, recently we had one customer, his own domain impersonated emails were being delivered from outside to in. Definitely, before we were there, we could not identify why it happened. But once we came in, because we were doing some DMARC reporting and analysis, we came to know that there are attackers who are using their domain to send emails not just to outside world, but to their own organization itself. And also we could then identify how to stop these attacks. And the same customer had roughly around, this is a 6,000 user organization. They had 30 accounts which got compromised, and within 4 hours of the attack happening, this spread across to 400 people in the entire organization. And because of the preventive account takeover remediation what we had deployed, we were able to solve this problem quite fast to them, which kind of made sure the resiliency of security was built around it. Shipra, I hope that answered the question.
So we have two other questions, two more that have come in the Q&A tab. So do you want to take up the one Q&A tab or let Vineet
Yeah,
answer
we can
them?
we can we can take them up. Should not be a problem.
Okay. So the question, there is a question which says that we have observed that communities such as Tycoon are heavily contributing to the rise in phishing attacks across the market. So how will the solution protect organizations from threats originating from such phishing communities and campaigns? Additionally, at what stage of the attack lifecycle can these threats be detected and blocked?
Now, typically, Tycoon, that's a very interesting thread that you've spoken about, because what is happening with something like a Tycoon, right? Because these attacks have been like, it's not just Tycoon. There is a Typhoon and whatnot kind of names which have come up. Tycoon was just one among them to begin in terms of such kind of attacks which happened. So these kind of attacks, when typically Tycoon happens, it's more at a man in the middle kind of an attack which is happening. So how does this happen? Is basically, even if you have a 2FA, it's typically either a session capture which happens, or they typically do a MFA bombing, correct? So what how Barracuda can help you is, Barracuda can definitely kind of help you at stopping these attacks. Just as we know that there is a compromised account, we can proactively identify these sources and we can stop such attacks. And by the way, if you want an interesting read on how Barracuda has responded to Tycoon, I'm just sharing a quick link in the chat window. You can, quickly go through that as well. And maybe I'll just quickly share my screen also, like what we've seen in terms of research globally as well.
Yeah, Pranay, if you can also type in the link, the Q&A. I don't know if that gives you the
I'll do that.
option to,
Should not be a
yeah, if
problem.
you can do it in the Q&A tab as well to in answer to the question. Yeah.
I'll
Vineet
definitely
is
do that.
already answering the other questions. So what I'll do is I'll the other two remaining questions at my end, I will take those up.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I
So
think
the
the
next
second question
question
we
is,
need some clarity on that.
you want to take up the one that Vineet is answering?
Vineet, you
I
want to
think
take that up?
Vineet,
I
if you
think
want to add more to it,
I
maybe.
yeah, I mean the question was it's not clear with, what is written, so I just asked for more clarity, but I'll just read it out as the boss. How about the email important marks helps in identification by using some taglines? So I'm not sure what is the exact question here. So, Shashpala, if you can provide some clarity on what is here.
Yeah, so the gentleman who has asked the question, if you can type in the question again, that will be really helpful. In the meanwhile, I've received one question. So, for an organization already using Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace, with email security, what gaps does Barracuda typically demonstrate ROI to justify adding an layer?
I think a very interesting question, because uh, typically the this is a challenge which we are seeing across the globe, right? You spend say X amount of dollars in just getting an email security solution. How do you know that it is really working or not? One, two. How do I go it back and tell my management, yes, that this is working in a specific way, and how can we help you to stop? Definitely, yes, Barracuda gives you something called as an value report. Now this value report first tells you what are the types of threats we are seeing, how many of them have we blocked it, how many of them have we or in the multi-layer defense strategy, on which layer of attack or which layer the attack was remediated, right? So you get a complete visibility into what kind of attacks are happening. And this report is not just like a monthly report. You can have it as like 3 to 6 months or 1 year of report, which tells you how we are adding the value chain to it. Now, definitely, yes, when you see the report once it comes out, it will definitely tell you, what is the ROI. Because say, for example, if just one email is blocked, entire year, definitely it's not justifying the ROI, right? But when you see a good number of attacks being blocked, definitely, yes, you can use that as an ROI. Now, coming to the threat gaps, see, typically, like you saw in the beginning of the presentation, right? Impersonation has been one challenge. Though you have SPF, DKIM, DMARC records, though you have all the types of security controls that you put in place, but still the attacks definitely are missed. Why? Because what happens is the native solutions don't look at the context. They look only at the sender who's sending it. Is this sender known to me? Is this sender, is he in the bad reputation list? Then block it. If he is not, allow it, and then whatever happens, leave it to the security guards to take care of control. So that's where Barracuda can help you to plug these gaps, and not just that, also to help you to remediate and respond to different uh, waters.
Okay. So another question is, okay, Vineet mentioned that he would like to answer this question. So I'll let Vineet answer both to the two questions that Vineet. Vineet, you want to answer this? Microsoft 365 DLP?
I'll post it out. I'll read this out to you, Pranay. So M365 DLP is used, then how Barracuda can make it more secure other than the private part.
I think, see, when it comes to DLP, one important aspect is, who's uh, sending an email to what with what as an attachment, right? Definitely, yes, that is one important aspect. Now, with continuous monitoring, be it Google Workspace or be it Microsoft 365, Barracuda offers something called as an continuous monitoring on the email workflow or the email suite what you use. Now, this suit is basically this is going to monitor, what are the changes on the DLP policy? What are the emails that have been allowed because of this policy? So, and then it's going to tell you, that, okay, this is where you need to rework on, and this is how it can help you with.
Yep. And the second one would be how to test the code. I mean, to
We have a
test off the
simple
Google Workspace.
API report, Vineet, I think, which we can run, which typically is going to tell you what are the gaps or what has exactly happened and why are these threats which are coming in.
And what telemetry or behavioral indicators does it prioritize to reduce false negatives? I think you have already answered that, but I think refresh would be great.
Yeah. So see, what Barracuda does is Barracuda has multiple engines which run. Now, some of these engines use AI into it. Like, say, for example, the inbox defense, what we use, that is more of an AI component which is used, because there you need a lot of dynamic decisions to be taken based on different anomalies or different contexts that we see. Now, first thing, to build and sentiment itself, it's not easy to build a user sentiment on an email which is being sent, correct? So that's where typically AI comes into picture, and Barracuda then uses that AI to stop such attacks. Now, to reduce false negatives, what we do is we keep continuously monitoring, or keep getting, or in the backend we keep monitoring every user's account, and where we have a threshold which comes in. Now, once we see that there is a threshold which is crossed on false negatives, we immediately retrain the AI and different modules which are there, so that we can reduce the false positives as well. So these are some things which we also do, and most of these things are automated plus human driven as well. Because of course you can build a lot of automation, but automation just works on binary 0 or 1. They don't have the gray line. So the human element brings that gray line to identify the gaps.
Just one last question. I think if we have SOC and M365, then how can that get?
So, see, definitely when you have a SOC is definitely going to look at what exactly is happening in the entire infrastructure. But with Barracuda 1, at least you can build 4 layers of defense despite you having a SOC. And fifth most importantly, typically SOC always takes, depending on how your SOC is designed, like if you have, a well-designed SOC, definitely yes. You have automation in place. If there's no automation, then definitely you're going to end up on relying on the SOC just to give you an alert and then doing manual remediation. With Barracuda, some of those remediations are automated, which means you have much faster mean time to response when compared to just having your SOC.
Vineet, we have one more question here.
Yeah, that's one more. If a phishing email is missed by the AI system and reaches a user, potentially leading to a payload execution, what additional security controls are in place to detect, contain, and mitigate the threat? And how do you ensure such miss outside identified and bandwidth effect?
So perfect. See, I think Aniket, I think you've definitely understood the challenge that we are facing, right? No security solution is definitely 100% today. Definitely, there is a big challenge which is coming in, which means there are possibilities that an email can be missed or an email is definitely stopped. Now, what Barracuda can do does in these two specific scenarios, what you said, right? One is if something is missed, how do you handle it? Now, typically, there is a Barracuda's SOC which is continuously monitoring the telemetry that we gather from different sources and different reported incidents. One, two, and then help you to create either potential incident or when you come to know such kind of such an incident, you definitely can do a manual remediation for it. Two, what happens is whenever you give feedback to Barracuda's SOC and the AI precision team which is sitting there works on these things and builds different models, or the in today's world we can call it as agent, to identify such threats and stop such attacks.
And Vineet, we have answered all the questions, so there are no open questions. But I had very quickly two questions at my end, and we will just take those up quickly. And in case there are any questions that pour in the next 4 to 5 minutes, we can take those up as well. So very quickly, Pranay, what happens if we have a hybrid setup that is a mix of Google and Microsoft? So does your solution still work?
Absolutely. I think not just Microsoft and Google. In fact, there are organizations where we are seeing, still using some open source on-premise solutions, or we are seeing some organizations even use, some local SaaS vendors, right? So in that specific space, also Barracuda's solutions work with all these solutions. We do not just rely on Microsoft or Google. Maybe one or two functionalities could be reduced, but we make sure everything is addressed.
Okay. So one last question from my end is easy it is to deploy so many solutions?
Perfect question. I think one message which has been across Barracuda for the last 24 years of existence in Barracuda is to build products which are easy to use, easy to buy, and easy to deploy. Now, typically, the entire solution which I spoke to you in the last few minutes, trust me, if you have everything ready, all the required prerequisites, which hardly take a day for building the prerequisites, and then it's just 8 to 10 hours what we need to complete the deployment. It's that simple, that easy to deploy, no complexities. The UIs are clean, UIs are simple to use and easy to use.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we have one more question. Let's take this last question and then we will wrap it up. So, how does the platform handle business email compromise attacks when there is no malicious URL or attachment?
Okay, great. I think like if you see, this is like the most common challenge today. Couple of years back when we went back to our customers, we spoke to them. This was not a big challenge. The bigger challenge was spam. And especially in India, what we could see, 90% of the emails were always related to marketing spams and whatnot. But now what has happened is a contextless email which comes in, which means there's just an email, hi, can I can you share, are you on your desk? This is the most common email which comes in, and we typically don't read the email address who's sending it. We just read the sender's name and we just work on responding to it. Right. So such things,
Right.
what we do is we look at the context or the sentiment of the sender. Now, if the sentiment of sender is definitely a bad, because typically three things which happen here. Correct. One, we look at the domain where it is coming from. We try to match who's the sender. Is there any user with that name in your organization? Three, has this user got something previously before, and how has this user handled that? So all of these things are a multiple combination which comes into play in stopping such attacks.
Thank you so much, Pranay and Vineet. There are a lot of barrage of questions that took, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more questions which will be on everyone's mind once they digest the presentation made. So I would we have a feedback form to the end, and once you fill up the feedback form, I think Pranay and Vineet will, or you can also reach out to them through the feedback form, and it will be good to hear from you, and we really appreciate you. Do fill in the feedback form. It will pop up on your screen once you log out from the webinar. And thank you to all of you for joining us. It was great having you here and for you to join us and listen to this presentation. Hope you have a lot of key takeaways to go back with. And this is just the start of the conversation on email security for Google Workspace. There's a lot more that you can learn on this and that you can apply in your organization. And thank you, Pranay and Vineet, for your time, for the presentation, and for answering the questions live. I hope you all have a
No
great day
problem.
ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.